We're finishing off another series of 2 games with Thundercross 2, the first game having been done exactly 20 episodes ago. For whatever reason, this game never got any kind of re-release until the Arcade Archives version in 2021 that I'm using. It's set 3 years after the original game. The defeated Black Impulse Empire are back, but the Blue Thunder M45 and Red Thunder M24 ships used to defeat them last time have been further upgraded in preparation for this counterattack. The first stage takes place over this empty ocean. It starts with my crappy default shot against the standard slow moving orbs, the wavy patterned ones, and the enemies that move in a circle. It's not long before I pick up 2 options at the same time to triple my firepower. After a huge wave of orbs of different movement patterns, I learn I can't get too used to hanging at the left edge of the screen, as 3 big ships coming from there almost hitting me. Once they get far enough, they'll shoot a 3-way spread. While fighting them, one enemy drops a speed boosting item. Soon after, another drops a power-up capsule that changes letter every few seconds. I end up with B, which has me firing these spinning blades that continue after hitting an enemy by bouncing off them. As I deal with all these missiles flying in from the background, I get a third option. Then some larger ships from the top left corner shooting downwards at me. The next power-up I grab is marked N, turning my shots into big, fast bullets. A large green ship with 4 laser cannons shows up, but the weapons I built up take it out in no time. I then get my 4th option. A new kind of ship appears, but they don't last a second before I take them out. But it all comes to an end when I get the flame weapon. This reduces my firepower to just the ship, while my options become huge and shoot big flames on their own after a certain amount of time. The change-up distracts me and has me let an enemy crash right into me. Then I die right away just as my blinking stops when some orbs circle into me. After a wave of these spinning green ships, I get one of my options back in time for the boss. The actual ship part of this thing can't be damaged, it's the green orb at the end of the tail. So I have to bait the slow moving ship around the screen so that I have the space on the left side to keep hitting the orb. Once the orb and tail are destroyed, the ship's dome opens up to reveal its core, that yellow jewel. But the 2 halves of the dome release a pair of long arms that it'll wave about to both block my shots and in the hopes of swatting me out of the sky. And with my 1 option and default gun, this will take many circlings, especially after I get hit and lose the option too. And just to make things a bit more complicated, it will also release a small green ship to follow me in the hopes of making me crash trying to avoid it. But eventually I blast out that jewel, which escapes, and I land to refuel, marking the end of the level. Stage 2 has me inside a giant mechanical fortress that still has a rock ceiling. Here I have turrets firing a 3-way shot and fireballs coming out of nowhere. At the start I have 2 routes I can take through this level. I go up for the rocky route. There's this spinning thing that looks like a power-up, so I slowly try inching backwards to grab it. It's not, and I die. These new ships with little brains inside appear and move in a diagonal pattern, followed by a bigger brainy ship that explodes into a spread shot when killed. While that last object that I killed myself on isn't a power-up itself, they do drop them when destroyed. I go through a tight rock tunnel and once out get an item marked V, which turns my shots into missiles. Now this is my favourite weapon power-up. Nothing like having a full set of 4 options and firing a 5-missile spread across most of the screen. A big ship appears that fires a 3-bullet spread and 2 waves of steam from the rotating cannons on its sides, and there are rocks falling from the ceiling. My current weapons take it out in no time though. I get these new worm-like ships as I lose all my weapons not noticing the stalactite on the ceiling and driving right into it. At least I get the missile back right away. I get another option back just as I get killed again. The lava falls come to an end and the paths rejoin. The yellow jewel returns to activate the next boss. I first take out its shield while failing to avoid hits from its stinger and shots from its missile launcher. Said launcher is destroyed next. That just leaves me needing to avoid the stinger even more while shooting at the jewel. I die once, but the pattern is easy enough to learn and the mech is destroyed with the jewel fleeing again. Stage 3 has me out in space outside this massive fortress. I get really annoyed with this first wave of grey ships when I wipe them all out, except for the last one who just manages to get through between my shots and take me down with it. Bastard. As I go inside, there are little cannons on the floors and ceilings, followed by little walkers and these big green ships coming in from the background. I manoeuvre around everything and end up back outside. Then comes whatever these little things with the antennas are supposed to be. As I reach the next segment of the fortress, these pink mechs that rapid fire bullets show up while I'm also trying to blow open the door. Then once I get inside there are these pink barriers. Destroying one of the generators will get rid of it, but will also trigger a 5-bullet spread. But then I'm too busy trying to get a power-up that I don't notice the new green ships piling in through this tunnel and lose what I already have. Inside this tunnel is a big cricket robot thing that has a little laser gun connected to it. Even after taking it out, I have to keep shooting the husk to nudge it out of the tunnel. I end up back outside and get killed again by this pair of ships with cannons on their backs moving in a wavy pattern. I fight through these until I reach another door back inside, but this one wipes me out with the huge cannon in the centre. Once I deal with that, I'm back inside with... I don't even know what these hopping pink things are. They aren't exactly easy to kill with my current weapons, and so I just have to avoid several of them in a row. They don't kill me, but all the floor and ceiling cannons afterwards did. Then back outside to reach the next boss. It's a big 3-pronged chip. The middle prong has 2 lasers on the top and bottom, while the other 2 prongs have their own slightly bigger lasers. I blow up the tip of the middle prong and it reacts by opening up and stretching the other 2 out across the rest of the screen to give me less space to move. There's tiny little mushroom ships coming from everywhere to avoid, along with vertical lasers all over the place. I just have to keep moving back and forth to avoid them while shooting at the jewel in the middle to take it down. Stage 4 is apparently a waste factory. New green wavy things to take out, followed by the missiles from Super Metroid charging me at high speed. Little cannons on the floor, and green ships coming from the floor and ceiling and zooming for me. Along with giant cannons firing super missiles from Super Metroid. Then comes pushing this green thing along until it explodes, followed by steam. The steam pipes are so small they were a pain to get rid of, and I died trying. This is one of those levels that is hellish if you die at all. Avoiding so much stuff in these cramped spaces with just the default gun isn't the best time. For the next big stretch it just keeps piling it on, and I die from having too much stuff coming at me at once on my little gun to handle. But I get a short break, blowing up these walls before the level starts throwing loads of enemies my way at once. But through the next tunnel is the boss. There's a robot chameleon climbing up and down the wall. The jewel in the back can only be shot while the left legs are open while climbing. It can spit a 5-way spread and has little versions of itself helping out. It will try its tongue, but it just won't reach to the extreme opposite end of the screen. This boss I managed to take out without dying. Stage 5 has me back in space, and I'm glad to see no floors and ceilings for a bit. I do have to avoid crashing into a giant ship though. It's got cannons on the front and missile launchers along the top. We have large grey ships passing overhead, orange spinning things dropping down, a cannon that looks like a Dalek, and another 3-way cannon mounted onto what looks like a slanted bit of wreckage. Plus smaller ships launching off the top as well. The screen stops scrolling at one point, taking up most of the screen, with what's remaining taken up by lasers, bullets and missiles. I end up dying 4 times just here, slowly taking out the guns and wiping out the cannon. This blows open a hole in the ship that I enter. Another new kind of cannon here shooting fireballs, hovering mechs with little miniguns on the front, and cramped space. Once I stop moving down and it becomes purely side-scrolling again, I get huge machines coming out of pits trying to crash into me and then a series of crushers to get through, which I don't do very well with. Past them are mech suits with guns before the screen starts moving up. I have to avoid both cannon fire and move off to the side to avoid getting hit by descending lifts. This goes on for a bit until I'm moving sideways again. Past that is the boss, a gigantic cannon. There's a gun covering the jewel shooting in all directions and 2 flamethrowers firing 3-way spreads. I'm lucky I built up 2 options and stronger shots because the gun goes insane, but I manage to take it down before it gets too overwhelming and I make a mistake. Stage 6 has me back in space inside some kind of asteroid. We have pink tanks going along the floor, new pink turrets and pink Xbox logos trying to crash into me. I finally get a new weapon here. A T gets me lasers that fire in both directions. It's good, but it's kind of blinding and distracting. Now from a wall bursts this thing firing lasers out of its pincers. It also spits something out, but my lasers deal with those before I can see what they are. Past that we have pink containers spitting out more ships before I end up outside taking on some more mech suits, but different ones than in the previous level. Now I'm taking out groups of enemies while avoiding the smaller asteroids moving around the screen. But then giant lasers start shooting in from off screen. And my fun is ruined when I accidentally pick up another flame power up. Luckily I survived long enough for it to run out without me dying. But then I pick up a similar big laser for my options that works the same way the flamethrower does, so I'm stressed out again waiting for it to run out. The next boss appears, this big ship. It has 2 streams of fireballs coming out the front, but they don't last long when the laser runs out and I hit it with all 5 big shots at once. Blowing up the flamethrowers has it start using that giant laser I've been avoiding though. I die, and losing that range when I have to hit this thing dead center while it's moving and there's a massive laser taking up so much space is quite difficult. It takes forever getting a little tiny shot in every now and then before it finally goes down. And that just leaves the final stage, flying down this trench. I'll save the rest of this level for a bit because I lose another continue here and it turns out that this game, despite you being able to input as many credits as you like, still has limited continues. Maybe the first game did, I don't know because if it did I'd never run out. But I don't like this. The fact that this was an arcade game and you could still lose the entire game's progress despite having already put more money in beforehand doesn't sit right with me. On the way back through, I can do the lower route to stage 2 at least. Instead of all rocky, this route stays mechanical. It even gets a few enemies exclusive to this route like the giant spinning cyberworms. A lot of walls here giving you some narrow space to fail to squeeze through. At the end is a blue ship made of 2 segments that separate to fire a big laser from the middle, along with the individual parts having lasers of their own. I prefer the rocky route because I find it easier to get through, meaning more continues for the rest of the game. I make it back to stage 7 but lose my last continue in around the same place. It's my 3rd try that's a successful one. I don't actually know how many continues I'm allowed, so I also don't know how many I have left. More new mechs walking along the floor, turrets spewing out enemies and cannons firing laser balls. And then there's the true hazard of this stage, huge walls coming out from the floors and ceilings inches from my face. Now, I've said before on this channel that this genre of game is not one I have that much experience with, but I will say that from the little experience I do have, I haven't been very fond of this kind of level, the overly cramped one. The only time I really enjoyed something close to it was that stage in the first Thunder Cross, where the entire level was the boss surrounding me. That one was fun. But here, the very cramped space mixed with the surprise fuck you wall unlimited continues, especially at the end of the game, makes me more frustrated than excited at the challenge. And all that was there to fill space because there isn't much else left to say about the game. I end up in this dark space and fight this mini planet thing. It fires off 3 sets of foaming missiles each from the top and bottom, and enough damage will break off chunks of it that I will also have to avoid. Both these missiles are slow enough and easy to move around that I can shoot them down. I take it out and the level continues. I have another set of tunnels to get through filled with mech gunners and more surprise walls and the rest of the level's regular enemies. The boss music starts as these diamonds fly on screen, resulting in a death thanks to this one stubborn mech following me for so long. I reach the ship's core and the yellow jewel flies in one last time. It sends out 3 orbs that bounce around the screen. There are also 2 cannons that fire huge lasers that bounce off the floor and ceiling too. But even with so little weaponry, I decide fuck it and fly right up against that core and keep shooting. I get so lucky that I wipe it out in no time. The ending is just a boss roll call followed by the credits. I'd put Thunder Cross 2 at a similar level of quality as the first game, but I did like the first game more in the end. That little bit of complaining I had during the final level was what did it. The limited continues wound me up, and even apart from that, I still found the first game a little more memorable. Still a good game, just that I preferred the first. This also marks my 7th completed series on this channel, and also the 7th series that was just 2 games. A couple enjoyable games that are around the same quality. It's not quite the praise I've given a couple, but it's still better than the 1 good, 1 bad other series have had, or even the dreaded 1 just okay, 1 bad others have had. It came out overall good in the end.